Hey everybody, Rorree here with the Goddess Isis Coven. We are in story time and I am Isis. All right, so now we're going to talk about creating and destroying roses. Now, when I discussed that before, somebody was like, blowing up roses. I'm like, yeah. So roses have a very high frequency. So when you create a rose to represent a situation or energy or whatever, and then you blow the rose up, you're really using like a high vibrational situation, a rose, to release some energy. So this is what I was taught at the Berkeley Psychic Institute. We were taught to use roses, and actually the church was called the Church of the Rose. I don't know. I believe that parts of the teaching come from the Rosicrucian order. I'm not positive on that, but when I did a little research, I think it did link back to that back in the day. So, but anyway, creating and destroying roses. How do you do that? So the first thing that you do is you get into your state. So you can do some breath work. You can run your energy. And we teach you all these things in the community. I just did a video on a quick breath work technique. But if you don't really know some breath work, you could really just inhale and exhale 13 times. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Sometimes you can fill your torso with breath and then release the breath and fill with breath and release the breath. So on the inhale, you're doing like an opposite breath. On the inhale, you're filling your torso up with breath, and on the exhale, you're releasing all the breath. So I encourage any of those or all of them before you want to do some visual work. So what I usually instruct people to do when they first get started with creating and destroying roses is to close their eyes and see an imaginary screen out in front of them. And on that screen is where you're going to build your creations. As you get to master it and you can see with your eyes open, then you can actually create your rose. And this is how I do it now. I create my rose. And the color represents whatever the color is of the energy that I'm pouring into the rose. So I create the rose and I pour the energy of whatever into the rose. So let's say I just had a conversation with a client and the client was really not feeling well. I might create a rose to represent that client and her energy or his energy. And then I'm going to pour all of that energy into the rose. And sometimes I do it with my breath. So and then I destroy the rose. Okay? So I have the situation. I create a rose for the situation out on that imaginary screen. I put all the energy from this situation into the rose. And then I destroy the rose. And you can do the same. You can do the same situation several times. You can create another rose for the situation. Put all the energy in the rose. Destroy the rose. You could do it again. You could do it as many times as you like. As you saw in a previous video, sometimes I put up a hedge of roses, a whole rose bush. Okay? So if it's a lot of situation or the situation has really plucked the nerves, you can put the whole bush of roses up. Oh, I'm going to build a whole rose bush out on my imaginary screen. And then I'm just going to blow them all up. Or I'm going to light a match and whoosh, let it get all lit up at one time. All right? All right. So that is the basics of creating and destroying a rose. You just create it. All right. Now, another thing that you might want to create and destroy a rose for is what we call like karma. Let's say you are a reader and you are doing a session with somebody, or let's say you're a therapist or you're friends with somebody and y'all are talking about a situation and you are totally relating to that situation because, girl, I just went through this myself, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So now you're having like karma with that person, a likeness. You're having like situation with that person, right? And so what you want to do is create a rose for the like karma that I've just had with the person. and put all of that energy into the rose and then destroy it. Okay? Because oftentimes when you do reading work and healing work and stuff like that, the people that come into your space come into your space on purpose. We always say that when you give a healing, you also get a healing, because that person came to you because there is something about that situation that you may require healing on as well. Okay? But you want to release the likeness, and you want to release that person's energy from your space. Okay? So after your readings and your sessions, you can create a rose for whatever likenesses y'all had and blow those roses up. Okay? Create the rose, put the energy into it, blow it up. Or you could create the rose and put the energy into it at the same time and then blow it up. Do it however you like. Be in the kindergarten space. It's not that serious, okay? You could even, instead of roses, if you don't like the idea of blowing up roses, you can flush down a toilet. I remember on one of the retreats that I did, somebody was like, can I just flush it down the toilet? And I was like, have at it. You're in the kindergarten. Do what you want to do. Be creative. Have fun. It's all about that fun, you know? And so I can't remember if it was a girl or a guy who came up with this toilet thing, but they would just pour whatever it was in the toilet and just flush it. I was like, I like that. That's kind of cool. So anyway, do it however you like, but that is the gist of how we create and destroy roses. I will see y'all in the next one.